This could be one of the major turning points that we look back on in 6 months' time and think, why didn't we get into the market sooner? Why didn't we invest more into the markets? And how did we not see it at the time? I think right now is probably one of the most pivotal times in this stage of the cycle, just like I talked about just over 12 months ago when we looked at that March 2023 low. That was a major critical pivotal point in the markets before they took off and never saw $20,000 again. So I know I'm hyping this up a little bit at this point, but I really want to emphasize this particular stage of the market. Look like for the S&P 500. Well, let's have a look at it on a 6-monthly basis and also an annual basis as well. So the real big macro views here. We talked about the shorter term. It can be a little bit choppy based on what we've seen there, but I want to look at the longer term here. So don't mix this up with, oh, if tomorrow the market dumps by 2%, it's all wrong. It's going to take 6 months, just like the last period took 6 months. We're in an incomplete 6-monthly period now, which is just over here. But we'll look at this on the annual as well, on the yearly. Essentially, red, green, red, that's for the annuals. In terms of the 6-month periods, you can see through the swing chart here, typically within a swing, you're going to see pretty long stretches of green in the 6-monthly chart. And we're only currently 3 6-month periods in to this particular swing. That is green here, but that's the bottom of the swing. So forget that. We're not looking at colors just yet. You can see the swings, the amount of swings into the previous peak in 2007. You had 3, a tiny correction here when you look at the lows, very, very close to the same price, and then it took off for another 6 bars. So 6 months of 6 bars. That equals in time frames, well, 6 by 6 is 36, so about 3 years there. Where does that take us from this low? Let's go out to 6 bars. Takes us to, we've got to look out for some time in the second half of 2025. So not saying that that's the end of the run, but I think it's important to have a look at how the market is performing towards the end of 2025. Does it have more legs to go into that peak? You can see into the dot-com bubble, that was 12 6-monthly bars. So basically 6 years straight up. 6 freaking years. Can you believe that? And just prior to that tiny little correction here, that had a 7-bar period up. So that's, again, 3.5 years. So 3.5 years, tiny pullback, and then 6 years up. So major, major moves. Now, we've had a pretty damn long time up already. So I'm not trying to suggest that we're going to get another 12 6-month period, so call it 6 years. But this market, or the stock markets, can go on pretty significant runs, especially when we're in our winner's curse phase as well. So again, there's not really many signs pointing to the markets having to collapse. Let's have a look at the end of the year as well. We're in a green year so far. And again, I still hear some calls of people saying the markets are going to collapse. I can't see that happening, especially when I look at history all the way back to the 60s and even the Second World War. You name another person who goes back to the Second World War for history, and some people think it's all different this time because there's so much more money printing and it's all different. I mean, I can't help that. I'm just doing my own analysis, and hopefully you guys are winning with it as well, or doing your own research on top of it and doing even better. That would be the best thing that I can hope for. So anyway, just look at the years here. Red, green, red. The year ending in red, then followed by a green. Do you ever see another red year after that? I had to go back to the 1960s to get a red year, a green year, then a red year. And then I had to go back to post-World War II to get a red year, a green year, and a red year. Note in these times, the market barely went below those prices, if at all. But now we find ourselves pretty far up. So I think there's more of a chance, a much, much bigger chance of there being another green year or ending out this year in green, which I think is going to flow over into Bitcoin and cryptos. That brings us over into the monthly chart of BTC, and the month finally closed. Monthly looks pretty good. The close that we now have was at 62,700. So basically the third highest monthly close in history, and it goes above all of the previous bull market's tops. So it still seems like Bitcoin is trying to consolidate above the previous old all-time highs, which eventually, over the coming weeks or maybe even months, quarter 3, quarter 4, maybe, will eventually push us out to new all-time highs. And if that's the case, this big wind-up is going to shock many, many people. Look at what happened when Bitcoin wound up for about 7 months last time, March to the breakout in October. A big wind up of 7 months caused that huge move from 25K to 74K. Not saying it has to do the exact same percentages. I'm just talking about some significant move that pushes price pretty damn hard. Now, I don't know, honestly, if it's going to be a straight line like it was in the last cycle. It could be a nice big pump up, a pullback, and then it just takes off again. But as I said in the intro, when we get into that stage, it's kind of like that goodbye to the sane times, getting to talk to you guys, and then we get into the insane times. So make sure you got your insane caps on. If you have to, post this on your walls. Warren Buffett's going to help you with sexual advice. He's going to help you with trading advice. He's going to help you with everything, okay? So if you get in those times, just remember the bull market's like sex. It feels best just before it ends. Don't go crazy when we get into those ridiculous peaks. So I've got Ethereum, Solana, and the total cryptocurrency market cap to get through. And so Ethereum actually looks very, very interesting. So BTC, just looking at the greens and the reds in terms of the cycles now, you've got the 2013 top, 2017 top, 2021 top. At the moment, I think we are very much in this sort of cycle, 2015 to 2017. You can see it's been relatively orderly, and this is something we've been tracking for many, many months now. You've got the quarters. You've got 2 red quarters now and 4 green quarters. Look at the beginning of the cycle here for 2017. So basically through 2015 and 2016, a green, a red, a green, a red, a green, a red. It was very, very orderly. And then you got this big blow-off move in the last few quarters. If that is to occur again or similar, so not exactly the same, it might have a nice big stretch of 3, 4, maybe 5 quarters of green. There is going to be significant pullbacks, and because it's going straight up and the emotions are there, any sort of pullbacks, like it saw in that cycle there, pullbacks of 20, 30% is still going to be ridiculous. People will think that the market is going to collapse, but try to keep your head about you. There is a possibility of a 5 green quarter streak. Look at the 2021 cycle peak, 1, 2, 3, 4 green, a quick dump of a red, and then another couple of greens. And then you can go back to the 2013 peak, and that was multiple greens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 greens. Yeah, it took a little while to get going, but maybe that's what happens over this quarter, quarter 3. If it takes a little while to get going, that is potentially more energy built up for that last peak. And again, I come back to this, more energy built up for that last peak. Take care and peace out. The balloons are for my dad.